So, as mentioned in my previous presentation on the art of gift giving, there lies a fine line between genuine humbleness and false modesty. And because the concept of modesty has been so ingrained into the Chinese culture for generations and generations, being humble or at least trying to pretend that you're humble is kind of expected. It's a social obligation. And as you can see here, the first thing that came to my dad's mind when I mentioned how to give a compliment given the Confucian values is that it was hypocritical. In other words, a lot of the times these compliments does lack a sense of sincerity. So for example, when he mentioned that in giving or receiving compliments, say, "Oh Tina, you're so pretty," it's expected for me to say, "Oh no, I'm really not." Now, don't get me wrong in the sense that I believe that all compliments are false, because I do believe that there are people who say nice things because they truly mean it. But other times you can just tell when a compliment is just made out of obligation. For instance, oftentimes when I meet or see someone that I haven't seen in a while, the first thing that they say is, "Oh Tina, you've grown so tall," which is a typical I guess, compliment that I would receive from a auntie or an uncle. But the fact is, I know I have not grown for the past 10 years. So that compliment or that comment is false. It's also very important to note the fact that when I asked my father what would he say if I were to tell him that I thought he was really smart versus if his superior were to say the same comment, that his reaction between the two would differ. Now this is derived from the sense of hierarchy that is ingrained in the Chinese culture as well. The sense of respect for the elder or those who are above you. So when I am to say, "Oh, Dad, you're so smart," his reaction was to say, "Of course," just obviously jokingly, but at the same time, because I am younger than him, therefore seen as less wise, he is able to accept this compliment a lot more easily, as opposed to if his superior, such as his boss or maybe his teacher or professor, would feel less inclined to just accept it. Rather, he would feel as if there's this obligation to say, "No, I really am not." And this is more validated in the sense that there is this differentiation and this hierarchy between him and his superior. So another concept to really take into consideration in evaluating my father's response to my interview questions is that although my father has been born and raised in Taiwan for the past all his life, he did move to the US for the past 25 years, and I do think that the Western ideals have greatly influenced his thought process and his mindset. And especially with globalization expanding so fast, one of the biggest contributing factors to this shift in how people view humbleness or how to give or receive a compliment is that the Western ideas or mindset is merging with that of the traditional Chinese. And my dad especially has been greatly influenced by the Western ideals. During the interview, he repeatedly distinguishes between the old traditional views versus the current younger generation and how they respond to compliments and how they view the Confucian values. So, in an attempt to evaluate how one's demographic influences how an individual responds to a compliment, I conducted a survey which includes how one's age, how they were brought up, their culture, their familiarity with filial piety and the Confucian values have influenced how they respond to a compliment. So if you can check out the survey that I posted below, you can see how the responses have been compiled and kind of evaluate a little bit yourself as well.